Hey y'all, it's Katie. Welcome back to From My Vanity and welcome to a little Battle of the Highlighters video. I want to compare the new Mega Beam highlighters with the original Illuminating highlighters from LORAC. I got this years ago. This is the original Illuminating highlighter in Daylight. I've always thought it is absolutely stunning. I've raved about it a lot. I wear it a lot. I just think it's a gorgeous highlighter. But recently I noticed that LORAC has these Mega Beam highlighters, so I picked up the shade Celestial because I wanted to see if it was maybe even more intense than I remember the originals being. And like I said, these I always thought was stunning, very beautiful. You could build it up to make it a very impactful type of highlighter. So I was like, I wonder if this is more of the on trend, I guess you could say, with being super reflective and just very intensely highlighted. So yeah, I picked up this shade Celestial and I have been comparing them, and I feel like this video is going to be very short and sweet because, needless to say, I don't understand what this is. So I figured I'll swatch them and then I'll put them on my face and we can compare and you guys can let me know what you think. But yeah, spoiler alert, I don't get what's so mega about this. Let me go ahead and start by swatching the shade Daylight. I have a serious dip going on in this pan. I don't know if you can see, maybe a little bit, but like I said, I've had this one for years. And I really do like it. I think it's beautiful. It blends and meshes into your skin stunningly. And even though it almost looks like, it doesn't really look like much on my arm, when you put it on your face, it's very reflective. And if you ever want to wet it, then it's even more intense. And then, like I said, I got Celestial, the new Mega Beam. Now, comparing them powder-wise, this is more like firmly pressed and feels more powder, or not powdery, just drier. Whereas this Daylight shade is a lot softer, creamier, butterier. I guess I could show you what they look like on my fingers too. So here's what they look on my fingers. This is the original shade in Daylight, and then this is the new Mega Beam. It looks a lot more intense, Mega Beam does, on my finger. But when you swatch it out, as you can see, like, it doesn't look that different, even though it like feels so different. And it feels a lot drier. It almost feels slicker when you touch this. Not creamier, not powderier, just slicker. I know that's not very good description. I guess I would call it drier, but this formula with the Daylight is just so buttery smooth. It's so soft. I'm trying to think of something it compares to. Ofra is the one that I kind of think of off the top of my head. If you really dug into it, you could definitely get a lot of powder kick up, but it goes on just as beautifully as the Mega Beam. And yeah, those are the two shades. This is the Mega Beam in Celestial, and then this is the regular one in Daylight. Okay, so now let's just go ahead and put it on my face. I'm going to take two different brushes that are both clean. This is a Sigma F03, and I'm going to have one for each side so there's no cross-contamination. But I'm going to go in with Daylight, and I'm really going to try to make sure I kind of hit the light for you guys so you guys can see it. I always do when I dig it in, hit it off because there's a good bit of fallout because it is such a powdery highlighter. But here is Daylight, the original light source highlighter that I have enjoyed and thought was beautiful for many years. And I think you'll be able to see how intense that is. Like, and the brushes aren't wet or anything. I'm not someone who tends to like to wet my highlights just because I feel like it gets, I don't know, too weird on my skin. But look at that, just stunning. And the thing I like about LORAC's light source highlighter is that it doesn't really emphasize texture. It doesn't sit on top of the skin, I should say. Any highlight will emphasize texture if there is texture there, because it is, you know, bringing light to that area, but it melts into your skin and it doesn't look like it's sitting on top of your skin, which is something I've always really appreciated and loved about LORAC's original highlighter. So that is Daylight right there. And now we're going to go on with Celestial. I tried to pick colors that were very close together. As you guys saw, it's relatively close. It's a little different, but I'll try my best, and we're going to just pack it on. I go in a little harder because, like I said, it's a more firmly pressed. Still tap it off though. There's a little bit of kick up, or kickback or fall off. There's not as much as the original. I'm going to go in and try to make sure you guys are able to see the reflection same as the other side. It's always a little different to make sure it's even, but here is this highlighter. There's that. So, as you can see, very reflective, but like, you see this side and this side. Which side do you think is more reflective?
Okay, so editing Katie here. I know that it looks like when you're looking at the footage that the Mega Beam is brighter, and I do think it looks a bit brighter on camera, but something I did want to throw out there, no, in person it really doesn't look brighter. And also to keep in mind that always for me personally on the right side of my face, it looks a little more intense, more, I don't know, darker. As you can see, the bronzer even looks darker on that side of my face. It's got something to do with the lighting and just not knowing how to set it up well. So keep that in mind, but in person, there really isn't that big a difference, and like I said, if anything, the original highlighter looks brighter in person.
Or do you think they're both pretty much equally? For me personally, I wore these all day yesterday to kind of compare the wear time. This looks a little more, I think, tad bit more reflective, mainly because it's a lighter shade, you know, when you look at it, but honestly, it's not that much lighter, but I feel like it leans a little more pinky. Oh, can I sit up? I don't know, they're both pretty light. So this is Daylight, and then this is Celestial. They're both very pretty and reflective, but I felt like when you're talking about impact and intensity of the highlighters and how much they reflect in person, I felt like the original light source highlighters, if this will ever stay up, was a lot more intense. And then as it wore, they were pretty similar on wear throughout the day, but at the end of the day, I felt like the Daylight light source original highlighter was just a little more present. I felt like this had faded just a touch or just was a little more subdued by the end of the night, and I'm talking like 10-12 hours of wear. This one, they both were very obvious on the skin still, so I'm not saying this one was gone. So yeah, this is kind of the video. I just wanted to put them on and show you guys and then give you guys kind of my 2 cents. I'm really curious to hear what you guys think down in the comments. I'm trying to turn so you guys can see. Which one do you think is more intense? Personally, when I was using these two, I used this by itself a lot, and I was just kind of like, it's kind of more of a natural type of highlighter. Like, nothing wrong with it, but it's just not as intense as, like, you know, the ABH Amrezy, the Give Me Glow highlighters, those kind of very intense highlighters, but it was very pretty. Again, same story with this. This blends and melts into your skin, and it just kind of becomes one with your skin. It doesn't look like it's sitting on top of your skin, which I really do appreciate, but after wearing this a couple days, I was like, it just doesn't seem anything amazing, anything crazy to write home about. And so that's when I started pulling this out, and I've been wearing the two side by side. And honestly, I personally prefer my Daylight more than this. There's just something about this. I feel like it's just a little more reflective and a little more intense. Again, maybe it's the coloring, but if it's the coloring, then I would say if you have these, there's no reason to get this. And I don't understand what's so Mega Beam about it that's more intense than this. Like, these both are still available on the Ulta website. So when I saw this saying Mega Beam, I was like, ooh, maybe they amped this up even more to kind of stay on trend. No, it's almost just like they changed the formula a little bit, because like I said, it does feel a lot different than this, what is it even called? Illuminating highlighter? I thought it was called a light source highlighter. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, it feels a lot more differently than this. It's not so powdery, but at the end of the day, they look pretty much the same, and honestly, I feel like this shade in Daylight just gives a little bit more oomph, a little bit more reflectiveness, so I like and prefer this one more than the new Mega Beam. So yeah, that is the video. I just want to sit down and compare for you guys so you guys can see the two different highlighters. Maybe if you were like me, you've owned and loved their original highlighters, and then you saw that they came out with this Mega Beam, and maybe you're curious about getting it and trying them. I honestly don't think there's anything crazy different that makes you need to have both in your collection. If you are wanting to try one, honestly, still my recommendation would be their OG formula, just because it's so intense, so buttery smooth, and so, like, you can amp it up. Like I said, this is not wet. You can get it even more intense if you wanted to wet it. But yeah, I just really love the original formula. And like I said, when I was wearing this, at the end of the day, I felt like it didn't look anything crazy. It definitely looked like a more natural type of highlight. It kind of toned down a bit, whereas when I wore this all day, I never really noticed any kind of toning down. So overall, I would say stick to the original version. If you have both, let me know what you think. Do you think there is a big difference? Like I said, for me, the only difference is really in how they feel and then how they wear, and the original is better. So I hope you guys enjoyed this short and sweet little video. I almost didn't make it because it was so, like I said, very short and to the point, but I wanted to show you guys so you guys could see and compare the two, in case you were like me wondering what was so neat and special about the Mega Beam, and if it was something you should try and add to your collection or maybe replace the originals. So I hope you guys found it helpful. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button on your way out. That would really help me out in the whole YouTube algorithm. But anyway, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch another one of my videos, and I will see you very soon in my next one. Bye guys.